Color grading Rec.709 footage can be an absolute minefield. You've got gamma tags, also known as NCLC tags. You've got a baked-in contrast curve. You've got bit depth to worry about, as well as skin tones, color casts, and everything else. We're going to be looking at a number of these issues and how to fix them and best practices for these. So let's jump into DaVinci Resolve and let's get cracking. Okay, here we are in DaVinci Resolve. We are on the edit page. Currently, we don't have anything in our timeline, and there's a reason for that. So let's go across up to here, and we're going to be using this clip today. So as you can see, this is a Rec.709 clip. It's quite flat, skin tones are flat, and we've got a bit of a green cast over here. There's also another issue that I want to highlight here. So let's just go over to here, let's right click, and let's get the info. And you can see just up here, it is being tagged as 121, which is Rec.709, Rec.709A, which is really great if you're on a Mac. However, if you want to work on this in DaVinci Resolve, which bypasses the Mac's color sync, or if you're on Windows, which doesn't have the color sync, we're in trouble. So first of all, we're going to need to correct for this, and then we can grade our Rec.709. So let's go and get our clip. Let's drag this down to our timeline like so. And as you can see quickly, so let's just double click this. As you can see that these clips are not looking the same, and they absolutely should be. So if you stick around to the end of the video, I'll show you what you need to do to make sure that this looks exactly the same in DaVinci Resolve on a Mac or on a Windows across the board. So anyway, let's click on to DaVinci Resolve. Let's head down to our color page, which is down here. Let's click on this, and you can see here we've got one node which is completely empty. So we're just going to go across to the color space transform, which is already highlighted. We're going to take that, we're going to drop that onto our node. So we're going to put our input color space as Rec.709. And because this has got a tag of 121, it looks like this has been tagged as Rec.709A. So rather than doing 2.4 in my other video that I did on Rec.709, so we're actually going to encode this Rec.709A, which is just there. So the output color space, we're going to go to DaVinci Wide Gamut, and now we're just going to scroll down and we are going to go to DaVinci Intermediate. So next, let's come across to this node, let's right click, let's add a node, add a serial, and let's drag this to the other side of our node tree. We're going to come across to our first one. We're just going to copy this and we're going to paste this onto our second node. And you can see that that image has got worse. In order to combat that, we're going to come across here to the swap, and we're just going to click that. You can see here we've got the reverse of the Rec.709 and Rec.709A, but we don't want to do that. We want to come down to the Gamma 2.4. So now that we've done that, we're going to come across to our first node. We're going to right click, we're going to add a node, and we're just going to add two more nodes on top of that first one. So right click, add node, and we're just going to label these as I usually do for my videos. We're just going to right click, no label, and we're just going to put exposure for our first one. We're going to right click, add label, contrast for our second one, and color for our third one. So just like that. So let's have a look at the scopes, which is just down here, and this is going to give us a little bit of an insight to what's actually happening in this image at the moment. So you can see that we've got quite a lot of lifted blacks, and we've got quite a lot of room in the highlights. Looking at the image, you can see it's very washed out. I don't know if you'll be able to see this in YouTube compression, but we also have a faint line lifting up here, which to me are going to be these black bars. We're just going to be mindful of that, but ignore those at the same time. So because of the nature of the graph over here, I feel that we should skip the exposure for the time being, go straight to the contrast, and let's head down to the contrast and the pivot, which is down here. So we're just going to roll up to about 2.9. It's a good starting point, or 1.29. And now we're just going to roll back on the pivot to open up the image. So I think if we go to about 2.8, which is just about there, and I think now let's head across to the exposure, which is just here. We're going to come down to our lift, and we're just going to roll that down very gently. And we're just going to combat that by heading to the gain here and just rolling that up very gently. So let's just go to there. So let's just turn these nodes off and on to see where we're at. So that's off and that's on, and you can see that we've come a very long way in a very short space of time. So now we want to go to our color. This is where I'm going to adjust the color cast and the skin tones. What you could do is you could right click, add a node, add a parallel, and you could come up to here with the color and select preset 6 vector red, and this will select all of your skin tones. If you come up here to the highlight, and you can dial in that key, bearing in mind you've got this red here. However, because it's just one clip and I'm not working with a timeline of clips, what I prefer to do, because this is a Rec.709 image, is I would prefer to dial in the skin tones just using the lift, gamma, and gain. I'm going to show you how to do that now. So let's just click off that highlight mode. Let's come down to here, let's delete that. And now what we're going to do is we're going to come down to the lift over here, and we're just going to roll that down and across to the blue. So we're going to go across to the gain and we're going to counter that. So now we're just going to lift that up towards the warmth. The final one, which is the gamma, we're just going to bring up a little bit of warmth into those skin tones. And I think there is perhaps good. So let's just turn this off and on. And you can see that we've taken that horrible green cast out of your skin. So just quickly, if you are getting any value out of this video, even if it's a small amount, if you can do me a massive favor, click that subscribe button and drop me a comment. It'd mean the world to me. Thank you. So this image is still looking quite flat. So this is our next thing that we need to tackle. So we're going to right click, we're going to add a node, add a serial, and we're going to do that one more time. Add node. And this time, instead of adding a serial, we're going to add an outside. So let's just label these. So node label, this is going to be our outside, and this one is going to be our power window. What this outside window does is when you have a power window on this first node, it will put a key output and invert it. Let me show you what I mean. So let's come down to our power window tab, which is just here. Let's click the circle. Let's add this to our ice hockey player's face. We're just going to select that. Let's give that a nice wide softness. And now let's just track that quickly, making sure that we've got rotate and perspective clicked off, which we have, which is great. And now we're just going to track that. So that you can see that we've got a really good track here. So let's head up to our highlight mode, which is just here. And you can see that power window is selecting all of those pixels. So if we go across to our outside node, that's actually reversed. Because we've got a really nice soft gradient on this power window, it looks like we're going to be picking up some of the pixels in here, but that's just a really soft gradient, so it blends better. So we're going to come up to our highlight mode. We're going to switch that off. Let's come back down to our power window just here. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to leave that one alone, and we're going to go to our outside node, and we're just going to roll down on that gain to about there. And so let's just scrub through to see if we're happy. And I think we are, although the image is looking a little bit flat, a little bit muddy, and the reason for that are these highlights that we have compressed here. So what we need to do is we need to take the power window in the outside node, we're going to come across to our color, we're going to right click, we're going to add a node and add a serial, and we're going to adjust our highlights here further back down the chain. Now the reason I'm doing that is because we have compressed it down there, and the last thing I want to do is compress it and then open it up. I want to open it up before because we're going to get a better key doing it before. So what we're going to do is we are just going to come down to our key down here. We're going to click this, we're going to get our luminance, and we're just going to roll this up. But we do need to make sure we've got our highlight mode switched on. So let's switch that on. And now we're just going to soften those out to about there. Let's roll that up a little bit more just so we've got those highlights. I think there's good. So let's come back up to our highlight mode. Let's click on that. And now let's just come down to our gain and let's roll this up. And to bring those highlights back into play. Now what that essentially has done is that's taken a muddy image and made it natural again. So let's just turn all of these nodes off and on. And you can see that we've come a really long way in just a few short moves. So now that we've done all our adjustments, I just wanted to show you the difference between encoding and tagging. So let's head down to our delivery page down here. Let's click on that, and you can see here I've got all the settings set up. So it's going to go out, it's a YouTube clip. It's going to go out to the same folder where this clip originally is. You can see we've got PNG, and the important thing here is that we have the color space tag and the gamma tag tagged to Rec.709, Rec.709A, although this is encoded to Rec.709 gamma 2.4. Now this is a really important thing. So let's scroll down, let's add to render queue, let's render this one. So that's going to render very quickly. So we're going to right click, we're going to reveal in Finder, and this is our render of that PNG. So we're going to come across to the edit page, bring that all out, and now we're going to double click our image. And you can see here, now if we scroll that, we bring this up to there, you can see that, and let's get rid of that. You can see these images are exactly the same in Resolve and out of Resolve. I now want to take this export and drag it onto our timeline and just put it next to this clip that we've exported out and we've done all our color adjustments on. Let's zoom right in, and you can see that there is absolutely no changes to this image in Resolve or out of Resolve. And that's the difference between encoding your Rec.709A and tagging your Rec.709A. So that's all we've got time for today. If you are still here and you've been following along, thank you so much. Do remember to subscribe, drop me a comment, and I'll reply to it as soon as I can. In the meantime, do check out the episode over here, which is another Rec.709 tutorial, and I'll see you over there. Thank you. Bye-bye.